Hi, and welcome to this 30-minute yoga practice. I'm Andrea. It's great to have you here practicing with me. Today we are likely going to use the chair. So it would be good for you to have a chair nearby, just in case that's the way you want to roll. I have a couple of blocks. If you don't have blocks, thick books might work, but honestly, for what we're doing today, I think the chair is your best option. I have a folded blanket that can be really useful for padding knees and when we sit down onto the ground to add some ease. I'm going to suggest that you keep your mat facing me. I, however, am going to likely move my mat around a little bit and move around on my mat so that you can best see me and I can best make eye contact with you. I'm barefoot if that makes you uncomfortable. Shoes are fine. I'm using a mat, but if you don't have one, just find a place that's not too slippery. Maybe a carpeted area is kinder. And then when you have what you need, let's get started. Standing, facing the long edge of your mat, assuming you have one, with your feet hip distance. We make our way into our mountain pose, the bedrock pose, the place where you and I often meet. And we remind ourselves of the majesty of our mountain. Stand tall, turn your palms away from one another. Add a little buffer of bend to your knees. Be playful. Notice that balance, even in our still stand, has a little bit of subtle movement to it. We stand all the time, we're not necessarily mindful of the way that we stand. We're going to stir a little mindfulness into this practice, as we do all, but that's going to be a little bit of an emphasis today. So as you stand in your mindful mountain, let that mindfulness come to your breath. Another thing that we do all the time, often without the mindful quality to it, try to breathe just through your nose. A full inhale, maybe a little pause at the top when you're full. And a complete exhale, possibly a little pause at the bottom when you're empty. Take a couple moments mindfully breathing, mindfully standing, mindfully being. Adding to our mindfulness, some movement. Inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. And then exhale and float your arms alongside you. Mindfully, arms out to the side, inhale, V shape overhead. Exhale, arms float alongside you, palms turn out. One more time, inhale, arms out and up, a V shape overhead. And exhale, and let your arms float alongside your body as you stand taller still. A little bit more, inhale, arms reach out and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips and bring your hands to the tops of your thighs. Inhale, draw length through your spine and stay here and breathe. Notice it. Notice that your hands are pressing gently into the tops of your thighs and that you can traction more length in between all the vertebrae of your spine, where little gelatinous discs live. We're actually helping to hydrate them and helping ourselves to stand a little bit taller as we do. Take a couple more moments here, just kind of nerding out on the mindful quality. And then inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Maybe you feel evidence of those hydrated gelatinous discs, and then float the arms alongside you. We'll do that again rhythmically. Inhale, arms out to the side, up to the sky. And then hinge at your hips and take your hands to your thighs. Inhale, find that length where we lingered last time, and then exhale, just deepen the hinge a little bit. No head below hips. And then inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. And stand into your mindful mountain. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips and bring your hands to your thighs. Inhale, lengthen to your spine, and then exhale and deepen the hinge at your hip. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. And then stand into your mountain. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to the crease of your thighs. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, deepen the crease. And then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Arms along your side. Step out wide, thumbs to the sky, measuring ankles underneath wrists, basically. Now turn out your right foot from your hip joint so that your right foot is facing the short edge of your mat, and then cheat your back heel at a 45-degree angle. Keep your thumbs to the sky, bend your front knee, and just try to make sure that you've got a straight line from your knee to your ankle as opposed to the knee being in front of the ankle. So maybe some more space is handy. Inhale, V shape overhead, front leg straightens. Exhale, bend your front knee back into warrior two. Inhale, arms overhead, almost like our sun salutation. Exhale, bend the front knee, arms reach out to the side. Inhale, V shape overhead. Exhale, bend the front knee twice more like that. Inhale, front leg straightens, V shape with your arms overhead. Bend into the front knee, and then last time with our dynamic movement, albeit mindful dynamic. Now snuggle in to your warrior two, and know that if it's too long with your arms up, your hands can come to your hips anytime. Feel the outer edge of your back foot solid and that back arch come alive. That would be mindfulness from the ground up. And feel the front foot, the heel is stamping. It turns on the back of that front leg. Hug your right hip underneath you. Let your right thigh move a little bit more to the right as opposed to collapsing over to the left. And then just see if we can stay in some mindful stillness after all the mindful movement. 3 moments here. Let your low belly lift, part of the mindful architecture of the pose. And see if you can bring some of that space between the vertebra into this stance. Like little sponges in between the vertebra of your spine that are getting a little bit more space. And then slowly straighten your front leg. Turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat. Take your hands onto the crease of your thighs. Hinge at your hips. Press into your thighs with this wider stance, but the same assignment of reminding those little discs to get a little bit more space. Just 2 moments here. And then bring yourself upright and turn your left leg out so that your left foot is facing the short edge of your mat. Cheat your back heel into that 45-degree angle, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Because we've already measured, we're probably going to be pretty close here, but let's check it out. Bend your left knee, make sure that your spacing is what's going to serve you, and then arms straighten and front legs straighten, thumbs to the sky, V shape overhead. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, arms overhead in a V shape, the front leg straightens. Exhale, bending in. Inhale, arms reach in a V shape. Exhale, bending in. Inhale, arms overhead in a V shape. One more time like that. Bend your front knee. Straighten the arms and the front leg, and then we'll settle into our warrior two. And you can just check on it. You're allowed to look at your own body, but the mindfulness is kind of a rumbling that's even deeper than what we see. It has a lot to do with what we feel and where we put our focus. Being in this pose right now, Stamp your left heel into your mat. Let your left thigh bone move a bit to the left. You're standing in your mindful mountain in the back leg, and that starts with the outer edge of the back foot. That arch is alive, and then remember, just moments ago, we were tractioning that length into our spine. Can you bring it here? Low belly lifting. Breath as steady as when we stood in our mountain to start. If it's too long with your arms out to the side, just lower them or bring them hands to hips. 3 more moments here. You're doing beautiful work. Now slowly straighten the front leg. Turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat and heel toe until you're hip distance, so mountain stance in the feet, so that we can maneuver our props for the next part. Some of you will take your chair and bring that right into the middle of your mat so that your hand can be on it for triangle. Those of you who are using blocks, situate your blocks just like I'm going to do, so that they're at the edge of your mat and not in your way, and they're wide so that you can find one on each side. Then we'll take our wide stance that we did with our Warrior Two. You can kind of measure so that your ankles are underneath your wrists. Turn your right leg out so that that right foot faces the short edge of your mat, and cheat your back heel at your 45-degree angle. Now it's a hip hinge and we're not trying to do a side bend, and that's important. Thumbs to the sky. So part of our mindfulness is a hinge at the hip, reach long. You can add a little teeny buffer of bend in the front leg, and then find your block on the outside of your right foot. Right hand down, thumb to the sky with your left arm, and your right hand might be on the base of your chair. That's a great way to do it. Press into your right big toe mound. Bring life to the back leg. Start with the foot, outer edge, and the arch is elevated. Any place that you need to gaze for the happiness of your neck. That can be down, that can be sideways, that can be a little bit up. But spin the inner upper arms away from one another so that you have some space in between your shoulders and your ears. And see if you can think of those little jelly donuts between your vertebrae and mindfully bring some space there. 2 more moments as we are here. Firm through your feet and your belly. Come all the way upright. On your way, you might move that prop, that block out of your way. Turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. Rotate at the hip joint. Left foot faces the short edge of your mat. Cheat your back heel at a 45-degree angle. Mindfully hinge at the hip, reach long. And then your left hand will go to your block or to the base of your chair. Right thumb to the sky. Press into your left big toe mound. See if you can find the little jelly donuts of your spine and spin the inner upper arms away from each other so we don't end up scrunching. Stamp into your back leg so you feel a very strong, mindful foundation. And the ultimate foundation is your breath. Full inhales, maybe a pause at the top. Complete exhales, pause at the bottom. Last few moments here in the beauty of your mindful triangle pose. And then firm through your feet and your belly and come all the way upright. Turn all of your toes to face that long edge so that you can heel toe. And bring yourself into your Tadasana, your mountain pose stance. Let's be responsible with props and move them as we might need them. Some of you, it's possible, will use your blocks for this next thing that we're going to do. Just have them not right underneath your feet. I don't want you tripping on them, but off to the shorter sides of your mat. I would say the majority of us are going to use our chair. So bring that in close enough that it can be helpful. I'm actually going to take my blocks off my mat because I think I'm going to likely use the chair. I'll show you both. Now stand into your mountain, chair nearby. And you may want to be able to access the back of your chair too for this first part. Hands on your hips, stand on your left leg and hug that left hip into its midline. Take your right leg out in front of you as if we were doing triangle, turn it out at the hip, and then either a kickstand as a tree pose. You can bring your hand onto the base of your chair. Perhaps you bring it into the calf muscle. It's possible that there are some of you who help it along into the inseam of your thigh. Most of us are not going to end up here, and I don't want it to be a struggle. There's a mindfulness, and you're willing to meet yourself where you are. Arm out to the side, so right arm out to the side, thumb to the sky, and then just be playful. You can kind of like, whoop, let me see, is there balance? And if there happens to be, then your branches can both go towards the sky. Sort of like we did in our Warrior 2 dance. There are days where it's very windy and your tree might feel the effects of the wind and you just bring your hand for a little bit more support. 2 more moments here. And then right hand to hip, right knee in front of you, hip distance in our stance. Great. Second side, stand onto your right leg. So you'll want to move your chair. I'm going to leave mine be just so that I can focus on you. So stand on your right leg, take your left leg out in front of you, maybe hands to your hips so that you can feel the rotation of that left hip like when we did triangle. Kickstand is perfect. Into the calf muscle, excellent. Perhaps there are a few of you who put that left foot into the right inner thigh, and that's all well and good, but not necessary. Your hand can be on the base of your chair. I've got my left hand on the base of the chair. Either one is fine. Maybe you take your left arm to the sky, thumb to the sky. The right arm might meet that. If it's wobbly, have a good smile. 2 more moments. Hug that right hip in. Whoop. See? There's gusts of wind in my tree too. And then hands to hips. Bring your left knee forward and stand back into your mountain and pause. Right, adding on. And this is where I think most of us are going to use the chair as opposed to the blocks. So stand on your left leg, carefully with a bend to your knees. Cross your right ankle on top of the left thigh. Curl your right toes back. This is plenty. You can have your hand on the base of the chair, or on the back of the chair, pardon me. Some of you will take your hands to the base of the chair. I don't want your head to get lower than your hips. So if you can take your blocks, and again, I'm like turning and contorting to face you, you're going to be set up just fine facing me with the short edge of your mat. Some of you might bring your hands to your blocks. So I'm going to move my chair a little bit so that you have a view. This could be a couple of you. I think most of us, base of the chair is going to feel a lot better, and back of the chair is perfect. Take a couple of moments. Make sure you've got a nice sharp flex to this foot so we're not floppy. And then slowly come up and bring your feet hip distance. Find your way back into your mountain. So good. Mindfully, either with your chair nearby or your blocks if you know that that's how you want to go. Bend your knees and take your left ankle now on top of your right thigh. Hug that right hip in towards the midline. This is plenty. And it might be that one side is stickier than the other. Mindfully decide. If this is working, stay with it. If you want to take your hands to the base of your chair and that works, stay with it. If for any reason, hands to your tall blocks with that length through your spine and making sure that you don't collapse your head lower than your hips happens, great. We're all doing the same pose and not one of us are doing it exactly the same way. Isn't that cool? 2 more moments. And climb your way carefully, gently with the assist, because it's a wobbly place to be. Find your mountain, hip distance. Notice what you notice. That's part of the mindfulness. And you've done a lot so far. Let that digest for a moment. Now inhale, arms out to the side, V shape overhead. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands onto your thighs. Traction as you inhale, that length into your spine. And then use your chair or your blocks to carefully come down onto the ground. This is one of those times I'm going to move my props, so do move your props. I'm going to move my mat. You don't need to. I want you to get a better sideways view of me, so I'm just going to move things around a little bit this way. And let's use our blanket or towel for some padding. Set that up in the middle of your mat. And then think of that figure 4 that we just did. Climb your knees onto your blanket. When you have your hands on the ground, you want to make sure you're not too far forward so that it's hurting your wrists, nor are you so far back that you can't find any stability. So shoulders over wrists. Line up your right hand, your right knee, and your left foot, and then take your left hand onto your hip. So this looks a little bit like our triangle, if you kind of follow me. A little bit like our ankle on top of knee in our tree pose in the lower part. Hug your right hip underneath. And then optionally, left arm up to the sky, thumb to the sky. Make sure that you're not collapsed into your right arm. Sometimes it actually feels better to curl the bottom toes under, so feel free to do that. If you want to have a little mindful balance challenge and it feels okay on your right knee, you might pick up your left leg and extend your left leg back behind you. Total optional. You don't have to do that at all. Whatever choice you make, it's thoughtful. And it doesn't compromise your breath. Your breath stays the same as it was when we stood in our first mountain together. And then stamp your left foot onto the ground if it's not there, and come back onto all fours. I'm going to turn myself around. You don't need to. I'm just going to make sure I'm still facing you. Now, line it up. So we've got shoulder blades on the back. We have our shoulders over our wrists. And then line up left hand, left knee, right foot, and bring your right hand onto your hip. And this is as far as it needs to go. Hug your left hip underneath you like the figure 4 and tree pose and even our warrior 2. Float, perhaps, your right arm up to the sky, thumb to the sky. If you prefer it, curl the bottom toes under. That can be really helpful. And then just remember that you have no pressure on you to lift the top leg unless somehow that's of interest. Find a place where you can settle and breathe and notice. If it's wobbly, do yourself the favor of being playful with the wobble, just like the wobbles in life. If it can just be part of the learning process and not devastating, that will lend itself to a more easeful way of being. Last 2 moments. Now stamp that foot down onto the ground if for some reason it's still off the ground. And then unwind and come onto all fours and just sit back onto your heels and give your wrists a little bit of a release. Just back and forth for a moment. Continue to use your blanket. I like to fold mine a little bit more than it is for what we just did. So I have a pretty good bench to sit on. You might enjoy the same. I'll move my chair a little. And then seated upon your perch in a cross-legged position, which is suspiciously like our figure 4 and our tree pose and our warrior 2. Instead of crossing at the ankles, walk your feet in opposite directions from each other so that you mindfully create knees on top of ankles. And sit for a moment here. See if you can find those little jelly donut discs getting spacious here. And then inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky like we've done in sun salutations. Turn, turn, turn to your right. Inhale, grow a little bit taller And gently drop your left hand to the outside of your right thigh with your right hand behind you, either on the ground or even weave it behind your back or take it onto a block. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, gentle little loving nudge into your twist. And you can let your gaze gently turn with your twist. I'm just looking at you. 2 more moments here. Now unwind, inhale the arms to the sky, V shape overhead, and then turn to your left. Drop your right hand to the outside of the left thigh, and your left hand behind you somehow on a block, behind your back, on the ground. It's up to you. Inhale, grow tall. Exhale, just gentle, mindful, loving nudge into your twist. Terrific. Slowly unwind. Cross now left shin in front of right shin. So just changing up the cross of our legs and walking the feet away from each other so we get set up in the same way that we did on the first side. And then palms up or down, setting yourself up for a little mindful meditation. Maybe you're willing to close your eyes. If that's uncomfortable, just let your gaze get soft and maybe down towards the ground. Our minds are full, but mindfulness is actually the opposite, letting some of that empty out. So you can think of your mind being full of stories, the stories that we tell ourselves, that we get distracted and even carried away with. And instead of listening to all those stories in your head, see if you can feel the air against your skin. And stay with that air against your skin, the skin on your face, your arms, your feet, wherever it's exposed. Let the feeling of air on your skin and the feeling of the air coming in and out as breath dance together. In fact, notice that as you breathe through your nose, there is a tickle of air right underneath your nostrils, through your nostrils. Stay with the experience of here and now, not the stories from the past or the anticipation of the future. Fully present is mindfulness. You're welcome to stay just like this as a seated meditation finish. If you prefer to lie down and do our Shavasana final meditation, excellent. You'll gently come out of your cross-legged seat and spill out across the floor into your Shavasana. A minute of silence to mindfully finish our practice. Now, if you're lying in your Shavasana, start to gather your knees into your chest. Gently roll to either side And take your time using the strength of your arms to join us in a seated posture of some sort. And as we sit here and finish together, just make a silent little promise to yourself that you will bring the extraordinary mindfulness that you found here on your mat and let it reach into your life, taking our yoga with us even after we've rolled up our mat. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I'm Andrea. I look forward to us practicing again together soon.